Yousef Al-Benyan, thank you so much for joining CNBC. I want to kick off by asking you about where we are today. This is the B20. It's the first of one of a series of events leading up to Saudi Arabia's hosting of the G20. What's happening here today?
Well, again, thank you to be part of our B20 Inceptions Forum today. I mean, we are really, truly very excited to take these opportunities on behalf of the global business community. As you know, the B20, we take this very seriously in the kingdom. This is really a quite historical moment for KSA to showcase what we can offer to the global business community. It's led by our local business leaders, you know, male and female, which they have been really exposed to a global business or even local issues. We assembled them for quite some times to come up with their recommendation for the task force. And then we took it globally, engaging with our B20 leaders through the G20 countries. And then we came up with a very interesting task force and agenda, and hopefully today, this afternoon, they're going to start roll up how they're going to develop their recommendation process for the G20 leaders.
It's an incredible time for Saudi Arabia, and frankly, it's an incredible time for people who don't necessarily know too much about the kingdom to be exposed to all of the strides that have been made in the last several years, especially with regards to the Vision 2030. What to you is the most exciting aspect of this? Is it the fact that we have such a significant uptick in the involvement of women?
In fact, it's what I'm really excited about in 2030. You could have a really long an interview to cover those main elements. But if I may pick some very interesting piece that it really touches my heart is really the youth transformation and contributions to the entire society and driving the 2030 vision. And more importantly also, enhancing the role of women into the entire really society. That's why in B20 group we have looked at how can we enhance women in business. So we had really an action council for enhancing women in business, which led also by one of our premier leaders on the KSA. And in fact, they have the first summit yesterday, and they gather from more than, again, 20 G20 countries. They're looking at how can they enhance women in business globally. So those two, I think it's very interesting to see them through transformation for the last 5 years.
And when you look at this a bit more broadly as SABIC CEO, where are the opportunities, do you think, for women in the next 10 years? Where are we going to see women achieving in terms of percentage of your business?
Well, again, I think we are all globally, if looking at it as of today, we are really talking about B20. I think we are not satisfied with the level of female participations in the entire business community. There is very low percentage, and that's why we have taken in B20 to look at, we need to walk the talk. And that's why we have selected 50% of our task force female. We have selected 45% of our co-chair female. So we need to drive this to start with from our B20 to show our global G20 leaders what else they need to do from regulatory environments to enhance the women participations. I think we have a room to grow. We have a room to improve on the involvement of women in our business community, of course, also in the larger scale in the entire societies.
Saudi Arabia, by any measure, has seen remarkable progress over the last few years, but in the last year, it has been a rough ride for the kingdom, certainly with regards to tensions in the region, the attacks on Abqaiq. To your mind, as the CEO of SABIC, what is the most pressing concern when it comes to the security of the kingdom? Because there are a lot of questions about whether or not we could see continued problems in the region, attacks from Iran. The leaders that I've spoke to have not ruled that out. As the CEO of one of the largest chemical companies in the world, what is it that concerns you today?
Well, in fact, I have to be more candid with you. It's make me more confident on KSA. It shows that how resilient KSA, how people are really committed to always do their best. I mean, this is a series of events we have gone through in the region, and always KSA comes really with a very strong response to it.
But you've also got the U.S. government sending troops to the region to back you up.
Well,
so
again,
that's got to give you more confidence.
That's true, but again, I'm a business leader, and that's why they put me in B20, all right? And I think what really give me an experience, I've been in the company for a long time, which we had gone through a lot of global challenges. It always proves that the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia comes even stronger. I mean, if you look at the incidents happen with Aramco, we are very proud of what Aramco has been able to do. I mean, this is, you talking about 50% interruptions of supply to the chemical industry.
Are you surprised they were able to get it back
and
online?
No, I'm not.
Not at all?
Not at all, because I think they were trained and built up on their response. And I think this is really a showcase how Aramco and entire also the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia will be able to take the leadership positions to supply the world with the energy and resources and the product that they need.
When it comes to what happens with SABIC on down the line, obviously the purchase of 70% of the company by Saudi Aramco was a huge move by the company prior to taking it public. Today, stock sitting at 34.5, 0.6. That's off the highs that we saw originally, that first week when the IPO was launched. There are a lot of concerns about how the security situation has impacted that stock price. When you sit back and think about this company that you're soon to be a part of, what is the most challenging thing do you see on the horizon for Aramco?
Well, again, I cannot speak on behalf of Aramco, but if I can speak on, on behalf of SABIC and also the industry, I think what is happening today in the market is not really related to security or related to capability of those companies. I think this is a trend of the markets. I mean, there is a drop of commodity business on certain product more than 45%. There is a slowdown in Europe. There is also slowdown in China. And I think this is all has really contributed to slowing some of the demand. And that's why in B20 we are trying to take a very interesting recommendation to the G20 leaders to make sure that we can revive the WTO, we can really look at ability to free trade and enhance the discussions around going back into the globalization is a good business, right? It's not going to create any challenges for the local economy. So I think that's what really have impacted the current market conditions. Otherwise, I think we are even focused on growth. I mean, if you look at SABIC, we're still looking at some growth that we would like to do in North America, in China, and also part of Africa as well.
I hear you on global impact, certainly on a stock that's part of the region's biggest exchange. Saudi Arabia, the biggest economy in the region. Everything that happens in this country, as we know, has a big impact on the surrounding region. But are you going to tell me that you don't think that the events of the last week had a significant impact on the confidence in Aramco stock?
Well, again, I cannot really speak of Aramco. I think that you could ask them that questions. But what I can tell you that if you look at the market for the last few months, it's all impacted by what's happening in the global economy. And I think our market is really linked with what's happening in the global. And I cannot rely anything what's happening in terms of last week incident into impacting in our business. In fact, I mean today, if you look at our inceptions, we have more than 650 participants coming, and they're going to spend with us 3 days, complete 3 days in our program. And I think this is by itself from 20, countries. And I think this is by itself is a confidence that people are still interested to do business in the kingdom.
When we think about what happens next for SABIC becoming a part of the Saudi Aramco family, that merger is still on track to be completed by Q1 or Q2? Where are we in that process?
Well, I think, again, we at SABIC, we are only providing data and information for Aramco to file their antitrust to different jurisdictions, the information available by end of Q1 or Q2. But we are very excited about this from a shareholder perspective. This is going to bring SABIC into the next level. As of today, we are ranked number 3, and we have been able to come up with a brand valuations more than $4 billion, just recently announced. And I think with Aramco being the 70% shareholder of SABIC, this is going to fuel the growth and opportunities for us, not only for our customers and our partners, but also for our employees as well.
And you say that Aramco is going through that process of paperwork right now. That would lead many people to believe that there is still the prospect of an Aramco IPO internationally. Do you see that on the cards?
Again, I think Aramco will be in much better positions to give you the truth around it. I'm also an outsider like you. I mean, if you have,
but I've got you in the chair.
Yeah. So I think this is a very interesting. The IPO of Aramco in the local market has really fueled a very strong confidence in our ability to list a company on the size of Aramco.
Walk me through, if you would, just what it means to you guys in terms of the payment, because I know that there is some confusion about how the spread of payments to via the Public Investment Fund was going to go. Can you walk me through those?
Well, again, always there is confusion. SABIC has nothing to do with this transaction. This is between Aramco and the PIF, and I think both of them, they will be in a position to answer their questions.
I'm going to have to let you go. It's so great to see you, Yousef. Thank you so
very
much for joining us. And